Welcome to Guest Talks with Tracy Arvine. Bringing you special guest interviews from musictalks.xyz.
Hi everybody, it's Tracy Arvine here from Music Talks with our Guest Talks, and today we have got the amazing country pop, maybe country with a twist of soul, the lovely Cherie Oakley. And now, if you don't know Cherie Oakley, she began at the age of 4. She had her first manager by the age of 5, and since then she's done massive things, including backing vocals for the likes of Carrie Underwood, Clarkson, Gretchen Wilson, Amy Grant, so many more. Welcome to Guest Talks.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to be here.
It's lovely to have you. Now, let's just start. I mean, 4. You started at 4. Like, you really have been in it your whole life.
Yeah, and it's so weird because some people will be like, what was like this moment that you knew, you wanted to be a singer? And I'm like, I don't know anything else. Like, it's all I've ever done. It's all like, I didn't have some like aha moment or like epiphany of where I realized this was something I wanted to pursue, because it was something I've always pursued. And I tell people all the time, I was a really weird kid. Like, I was so weird. I sang all the time.
Weird is good. Weird is good. Because my whole family is weird, and it's really bizarre. I don't know. How did you feel? I know. How did you feel at school when you went through your schooling? Did you receive a lot of I guess bullying or flack from your singing?
Yeah, it was mixed. I mean, I spent most of my childhood being homeschooled because we traveled so much.
Right.
But there was a period of time where I started doing a lot more in theater. So my parents, there was also a shift in the church, and my parents were evangelists. So there was a time where we pulled off of the full-time evangelism road. But then I started doing a lot of work as a child actress in the theater. And so I was enrolled in public school because we weren't really sure what else to do at that point. And so we tried public school, and I just, I stuck out like a sore thumb in so many ways. I'd been raised around so many different adults that I felt a little awkward around kids my own age. But yet at the same time, because I had done evangelism, I knew how to adapt very quickly and very easily. So I knew how to make friends very quickly because I was used to meeting strangers and making friends with their kids and then saying goodbye. And so I knew how to talk to people and get to know people and make friendships really quickly. I wasn't really sure what to do after that, like how to maintain friendships. And I felt, I was in a tiny little county where everybody had gone to school since preschool, and I was definitely the odd one out. And then it was like, kids at 10 and 11 going, "You're auditioning? Like, what is that? What do you do?" And I would talk about having a career at like 10, and so there's no way to fit in with, average kids when that's your focus, and that's, your dreams and all you talked about. And so that was difficult. I did receive some weirdness, mostly from parents. Lots of parents who would corner me and ask me if I could teach their child to sing, and just weird stuff like that.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so it was difficult. I mean, I got a little bit of bullying. It wasn't too bad in that sort of a way. I was pretty lucky in that way, but it's just weird. Parents can be weird. So I felt like I got more flack from parents than I did kids, and there's all kinds of wrong about that.
I think that's a real shame, though. It's interesting because you see, I wasn't really going to talk about the whole bullying thing, but since we're talking about it, I think that when you look at some kids, you then also look at the parents, and a lot of them aren't open-minded.
No.
And you can see the reflection of that with the kids. It's a shame. It's a real shame. I'm hoping it changes. So how old are you now? I know as a woman I should never ask that question, but you're younger than me, so that's okay.
I'm 35.
Oh, really? You're 35. So, okay. So back, I mean, things are changing, I'm hoping, within the whole school system. I mean, I would assume that it's kind of similar to here in Australia. But, I don't know. Do you have schools over there that have specifically just for creative arts? Like here we have certain schools where, a lot of the kids that go there are kind of very left of centre. They're either actors, the singers, the dancers, and we have certain schools set up just for those kids.
Yes, we do have schools for the arts. I don't know what grade it starts, but it's older. I think it's just high school, but it may start in middle school, but it's not for elementary.
Right.
But I've looked into all sorts of things because I actually have a daughter, and I'm going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, I thought I would be so settled by now, and I thought I'd have my life all figured out, and I thought, oh, well, your early 20s, that's when everything's all kind of crazy. It's like, no, not for me.
Oh my gosh. I've got news for you. You've probably heard it from so many people, but hey, I've got an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old. How old's your daughter?
She's 4.
Okay, you've got some fun.
She's 4 now.
I say is go with the flow.
Yeah, but I mean, you do have to have some things figured out. She's supposed to start kindergarten, and I had so much anxiety because, I like to talk to people about how relatable I am. Like, I might be in the industry, but I'm far from at a place where I can have nannies and I can take all this time off and, I can have a personal trainer and all these kinds of things. Like, I am so far from that. And so I'm that person that's like trying to get my career jump-started and going as a solo artist, and that I'm trying to juggle a million things at the same time. And it's all on me, So I get the mom who's like, running herself ragged, who's trying to, juggle 50 million things at once. And she's trying to do a good job at all of them. Like, I totally get that. I was given my fiddle player dating advice the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad like I am not in this world anymore. But, I certainly was, and I can speak a ton on that. And it's like, I love being able to go, what, I'm so glad that I'm not 25, that I'm not 18, that I'm not, that I can talk to people and write songs about, what it was like. Like, I know what it's like to be cheated on. I know what it's like to, be sexually harassed or, treated differently because, you're the youngest and you're a female and whatever. And so it's like, I've been there, done that with so many different things. I feel like I can relate to so many different people on different levels. And now going back to like my daughter, it's so stressful trying to find the right place. I want her to have a great education. Yeah.
I think that's I mean, every parent wants their kids to learn, and I think the really important thing is, I guess, to have boundaries, and so they really know their boundaries, and that you're there for them. I mean, you might end up being, you are that one person that is going to cop it all. Yeah,
but at the end of the day, when our kids go to school, we're relying on whatever school system to co-parent. I mean, we really are, because they're spending, 8 hours a day at school 5 days a week. And you hope that what they're learning at school coincides with what you're teaching at home, and it can be a beautiful partnership. But there's a lot of differences. So we are actually trying for the first time Montessori school.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I know that very well.
And I'm so excited about it. I think she's going to do beautifully in it. I think it's, I love the fact that they've just worked really hard to come up with so many studies to try to teach children in the best possible way how to love education, how to thrive. They teach them work ethic and life skills and
Yes.
all kinds of stuff. So I'm really, really excited about it. I'm so thankful we found the school.
Oh, they're great schools. I've heard some great things.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really great. So
We'll try that.
sorry, give that a go.
Right,
Yeah.
you next year and ask me how it's going.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting because also when staff changes at school, you just kind of hope that they stick with those changes too. But with the Montessori staff, it's very I guess the staff, they know what to do. They stick with it and stick by it. And I guess in other school systems, in your public school systems, different. The thing is, you don't know if those kids are taught and raised with the same morals and beliefs that you have been. So. Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And when we did go to regular school for a little while, my older sister struggled horribly. She was bullied horribly. She was the girl that was afraid to go to school because she had girls physically threatening her. It was a rough school she went to, and my parents were naive. They didn't know much about where we lived because we were gone all the time. It was a good elementary school, but junior high was really rough. High school was worse. And so she got thrown in at, 8th grade, which is tail end of junior high. And it was tough on her. And it's like, it was what it was, but that certainly was not a partnership between what my parents were teaching and what was happening at school. So that's been really, really important to me. And then obviously education was really important. But then I also needed some flexibility, because of my schedule. And public schools are pretty rigid about schedules, which you'd think there'd be a bit more flexibility in Nashville, but no, there's I think they're like that everywhere. They're so tight now that you can't even, go away for a few extra days out of the school term just to have a family holiday, just because the family might be so stressed, or the mother, dare I say, needs a break and wants some bonding time with the kids, Yeah,
I'll be honest, and I am certainly not trying to attack, public school systems, but I do wish that we would go back to holding family time a little bit more sacred.
Yeah, I agree.
And promoting that a bit more within our schools, because it's so needed. It's so needed for the moms and the dads and the kids, everything.
I think the kids to have that bond with the family and the kids is just vital. And now I think they're just pushing way too hard on the kids, and what you're going to get is retaliation.
That's what you're getting. I think that's what you're seeing. I think that's, I think you see it with kids hating homework and hating school, and then you see friction at home because the parents are down the kids' throats about the homework, and that it's just constant work, and there's no promotion of family. And
I gave up on homework with my kids. I knew they weren't going to do it after I don't know how many years of trying. I just gave up.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about Montessori is if they do any homework, it's super, super light because they promote family. Yeah. Family first. Yeah. And for me, that's something that definitely, coincides with what I believe in my home is family time is very special. Yeah. It's so special. So I'm so glad to have found a school system that promotes that.
Yeah, and I'll just say one more thing is family isn't the way it used to be many, many, many years ago. You used to have this great support network and used to have this trust amongst, your neighbours would be classed as part of your family. Right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know if your kids were missing, you know where they were.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I mean, that was probably before I was even born. It's been so long since it's been that way. We've moved so far away from that.
It's a shame.
And I think it's so sad.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. And you could trust your look, fortunately, I've got great neighbours. So in case they're listening.
Yes. My neighbour, she babysits for me. She's one of my closest friends. I'm so, so, so lucky. But most people don't have that.
No.
Most people don't even know their neighbors' names.
I know. It's
say hello. Like, okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, when you did The Voice, what year was that?
Oh, gosh.
Was that before? Did you have your daughter then?
No. Okay. It was like 2011, 12. something,
Okay.
11 or 12. And no, I didn't have her yet. And I didn't perceive having one at that point. I did not. I was that person that, like, when I married my husband, I was so super honest. I just said, look, I don't want kids right now, but I could change my mind. So you need to know, like, that could potentially be in the cards for me, and it may not. Like, I don't know. Because, I was thankful enough to be honest with myself that I could be honest enough with someone else. Because I feel like sometimes, like the staple of immaturity is thinking you know everything that you will ever need and ever want all right now. And it's like, no. Life changes, circumstances changes. You don't know where you'll be, what you want. You just go with what happens and how you feel, and be honest about it. So no, she was not at all even on the horizon at that point. So
okay, when you first of all, let's go back. How did you begin at 4? And your family obviously musical.
Yes. Yeah.
And you had your first manager by the age of 5.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
So what were you doing at 5? Were you singing, or did you start to look at your musical theatre? Like you mentioned, you started to head into that direction for a while. What did your manager do? Did they help your parents out into guiding you?
No, it was that was an interesting thing. I kind of lived a dual life when I was a child, which was a bit bizarre. So my parents met in the theater, and my dad had studied opera in college, and so he had classical training and vocal training and all of that. And so fast forward, by the time they started having kids, my dad was a preacher, and they went into full-time evangelism. So I was kind of born into this sort of creative, passionate family. Whether it was about ministry or music or drama or whatever, they've always been very, very, very artistic, very creative. It's just their DNA. And so by the time I was 3 years old when we left for full-time evangelism, and made an album with my family when I was 4. So I was in the studio for the first time at 4. And then we were discovered, my sisters and I, by a talent agent at the age of 4 in Atlanta. And that was for commercials and television and film and theater and just whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But because I loved music so much, my parents knew that musical theater was probably more of where I leaned towards rather than just television or whatever, and they were totally right. So I got a manager in New York primarily for theater. And so we would route auditions for different things on the way to the next church, and we'd stop off and do an audition for some crazy movie or commercial or whatever, and then head to church and we'd sing. So my parents would write original musicals at night. So I sort of did everything all at the same time. But music was it was no secret. Music was all I ever really wanted to do. Theater was a lot of fun, and I loved the idea of just jumping in with both feet into a character and losing myself. Loved every second of that. It was very therapeutic even as a child. You could do all the things you weren't allowed to do at home. You're supposed to throw a fit. Really? I'm supposed to? Wow. So I thought it was fun, and I loved all of that, but music has always it's just been my passion, and it's just how I was made. I literally, if I played with dolls or played with toys or whatever, they were always singing. If I everything I did involved music. Gosh. Yeah, but it was a bit weird, because the theater world, it was very different, and a lot of people, I think, thought I would be very old school, kind of judgmental or condemning or whatever on a lifestyle, or whether or not they said a cuss word or whether or not they drank or whatever. The minute they would find out my dad was a preacher, they would back off from me, and I would feel that as a little girl, and it would freak me out. And I remember saying to my mom, like when I tell them that my dad's a preacher, like they don't really talk to me. And these are grown-ups.
Wow.
And and so I had, as a child, I had to overcome stigmas that were attached to me on both ends, because then when I went into churches and they found out I did theater, they would back off from me as well.
Well, but it's kind of interesting that you say that, because there's so many people that are in the music industry who are religious.
Yeah, but that's country music, you know, and country has a bit of a different foundation. And so it's been nice to finally go to a place where I can be all of me and nobody questions what I'm going to do or say or how I'm going to treat someone.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful for my background. I'm thankful that I grew up having to overcome stigmas, because, man, what a wonderful lesson to learn with communication and with loving people and with showing love on both sides, on all sides.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. You know, I've got so many different friends. They're all, I mean, none of them, no two are alike, not in any way, shape, or form, not in any way. And I love that.
And you're just absolutely a classic example of how the family environment has actually worked for you and has taught you probably more so than what a school system could.
Yeah.
So, say no more.
Right?
Did I say that? Oops. So let's so I'm going to get into trouble one day. I know it. Okay, so when you had, I don't know where to start actually, like when did you move to Nashville, and how were you introduced to some of these other artists to, work with them on their tracks and singing backing vocals for them? Yeah,
so Nashville runs totally different than anything that I'd ever been used to. I was so used to the competition of auditioning and being told up front, thousands of girls are auditioning for this, and, here's your odds and whatever. And Nashville is totally the opposite. So I was on a tour with an ensemble group that I had gotten myself roped into. So that's a crazy story. And
we like crazy.
Right? I'm the right guest. And so when I was on the road, my parents had moved to Albania to become American directors of an orphanage.
Oh.
And so,
Albania?
Yeah.
Sorry, you just triggered my... I'll tell you about that later, maybe after the show, okay? Because this... I have to, yes, sorry, keep going.
I told you, bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So the last concert of this tour that I was on finished in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. And I had no place to go. So that is literally how Nashville became my home. I stepped off the bus, and I've been here ever since. It wasn't a place that I had dreamed of going, although I had sung a lot of genres. Country music really feels more like my roots, because I sang Southern gospel in church, and we would drive from church to church and audition to audition. My dad would listen to only country music. So country music feels like home to me.
I think things are meant to happen. This is a classic example of going with the flow, and it was meant to be.
A weird circle of events to get me to Nashville, but literally the bus stopped in Nashville and I got off, and that's how I wound up here, which is so opposite of so many people. The first thing I thought was, I think I need to get a job. I've never had a regular job. What am I going to do? And so I had a little bit of panic with that, but I had a manager that wanted me to try out a girl group, so I had somewhere to stay temporarily, when I figured out whether or not that was the right move for me, which it was not. But I always just kind of go with doors that open up and just kind of go, well, maybe this is what God wants. Maybe this is what God wants, because I do believe that we all have roads and journeys that we're supposed to be on, and that everything leads to something else.
Yeah.
And you just walk. You just, let your worries go, step out on faith, whatever you want to call it, but you just walk.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Sliding Doors?
That's an older movie, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like with Gwyneth Paltrow, right?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yes, okay. I was like, that's not an older one? Yeah.
There's actually there's something new. I watched it on Netflix the other day. Oh, what was it? I can't remember, but it was similar to Sliding Doors, and it just shows the path that if you went one way or another way, you end up in the same spot.
Yeah, exactly. And I so believe that. I really do. And so I think we can make the road maybe take a little longer. Sometimes. It might take a little longer if we take this detour. But I do think that we wind up where we're supposed to be. And Nashville's been so good to me. I wound up working at a recording studio, which this is crazy. You want a crazy story? Yeah. A friend of mine, I only had like one person I knew in Nashville, and she worked at a label, and she said, hey, I know of a recording studio, a really small recording studio that's hiring a receptionist. And I was like, well, I have no skills, but okay. So I went and I put in, my worthless application, and it turns out that the owner of the recording studio is the man that recorded me at 4 years old. Yes. That's family, yes.
Crazy.
Right? George Cumby, and so he hired me, and that is really how I started everything. Nashville is a relationship-based town. It is a beautiful town. It works like no other type of industry that I know of, where I've never auditioned for one thing since I've been here. Yeah, that's nuts. Sorry, there's a dog barking. Hang on, is that my dog? I think it's mine.
Oh, my dog sounds the same. You got a little dog.
Okay, I closed the door. It's my Pomeranian downstairs. And I tried to make sure he had everything he needed before
it's okay. I was hoping my dogs wouldn't bark. I've got two. One is lying right beside me, and with the door closed, and the other one's out. And before I heard him scratching at the door, and I thought, no, I can't get to you now. And I thought maybe he'd gone outside and started barking. The other one's, a little dog. It's a real mix of a King Charles Spaniel Cavalier and something else, a toy poodle. Oh, it's bizarre. And the other one's a mixture of a Rottie and a Boxer. But so lovable. Yeah, sorry. So that's your dog. That's okay. Anybody who's a regular that has actually heard me on either, I do a show called Tracy Talks Indie, and my dogs have barked during that.
I'm so sorry. Well,
we love dogs.
Get to know every ounce of me. Now, there's my dogs.
And what's your dog's name?
That is Jackson.
Jackson.
He is he's my Pomeranian, and then I have Sam, who's a golden.
Oh, nice. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
It's funny, one big dog, one little dog. Oh.
Well, except the Pomeranian is huge.
Oh, okay.
He's absolutely massive. He's the biggest Pomeranian you've ever seen. So he's like, and then my golden is small for a golden. They got to reverse.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, I'm a huge dog lover. So had to have dogs. Got to have dogs, even if you travel.
Yeah, I actually want to get a cat. I've been saying this for so long, but the cat I want to get is a Maine Coon, and I want to make sure it's a big one, so it's going to be about the same size as, I don't know, even bigger than the little dog, only because I think it'll be funny.
That would be funny. I love cats. My only issue with cats is that you never know what you're going to get. You could have the sweetest kitten, and then when they grow up, like, they're just nasty. Like, they're not nice. They just don't want you to touch them or whatever. And you have no control over that. And so I've learned that because I always grew up with cats, and I had some of the most amazing, sweetest cats ever. But then I've had a couple that I'm like, what happened to you? I don't understand.
I had a cat that was like, Garfield, or actually more like, looked exactly like the Harry Potter cat. The cat.
Yeah.
He was ginger, and he looks like he'd been hit by a bus, But he was the coolest cat. I'm not kidding. You could just drape him around your shoulders, and it was like you were wearing a scarf or something, and he wouldn't care.
If you have an awesome cat, man, there's nothing better. They're so when they're great, they're so great.
Yeah.
But when they're bad.
How do we get onto cats and dogs? Sorry.
My dog barking, I think.
Yeah. So what were we talking about? I'm so sorry. Your studio, and you met the manager. That's right. Yeah.
So that opened up doors. So through that, I started singing demo work and started slowly writing and building relationships with just different musicians that I meet producers and things through. And so I was recommended for my first major tour, which was with Carrie Underwood for her first record. And it was interesting because at the time I was hired, it was like, she may flop, she may do well, who knows? Right. Nobody knows how she's going to do. So you're only hired for like 3 weeks, and then we'll see how she does. And then she took off, and so I was able to be a part of that incredible ride and see, someone take off so fast. And I learned so much from that. Wow. Such a learning experience, such a great way.
Oh, I was going to say, that's the best experience you could ever have.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah.
So you toured with Carrie Underwood, and you toured with Kelly Clarkson as well?
Yes, and I love her. Yeah, she was awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah, and so you did the backing vocals for them, or did you have your own set?
Yes. Yeah, I did background vocals, and that was, that's just what opened up for me at the time. I'd always dreamed of being a solo artist my whole life. I just wasn't really sure how to get to it.
Yeah.
And then these other opportunities and all these different ways would open up. And like I said, you just walk. So I would just walk. And if that would take me to theater, I'd do theater. But I'd always dreamed ever since I can literally remember of being an artist. And so what opened up was session singing. I did background vocals on a lot of different records and a lot of different singles. And one point in my career where I'd done so many singles that I had no idea what was coming out and what wasn't. So I'd just be shopping and I'd hear the song and I'd hear, me singing backgrounds, and I'm like, oh, cool. It's out. It sounds good.
Isn't that great when you're down an aisle and you hear something and you go, oh, that's me.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. And it literally got to a point where there would be a couple of songs I'd go, why does this sound so familiar? And then I'd remember, oh, yeah, that's me. Oh, I totally forgot. So, I mean, I've been so blessed and so fortunate to have gotten that busy with that part of it. But I'd always dreamed of being a solo artist, and it never made me feel, upset or frustrated in my career as a background vocalist at all. I was always so thankful for every opportunity to sing. And if that's the only opportunities that ever opened up, you would have never heard me complain, ever. As
they say, always enjoy the ride up, because it's the most incredible time. I mean, can you imagine jumping from, like, where a lot of artists that you see just jump from now a YouTube video to suddenly top of the game? It's like, God, they've missed this whole journey that was so much fun.
Well, and so meaningful. And I think sometimes people go through a whole lot of stuff emotionally that they could have been saved or spared if they had kind of walked up the ladder,
Yeah.
Instead
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's unfortunate you do see so many artists that, have gone from nothing to something huge without other foundations.
And they'll struggle in different ways that I feel like if it had happened for them a bit more slowly, or they had, had to kind of, like I said, climb the ladder a little bit more. I think emotionally it prepares you, psychologically it prepares you in so many different ways.
Yeah.
That I think it makes it easier at the end, honestly, because you're more ready.
Oh, no.
I was just going to say.
You go.
I was going to say then the opportunity to be a solo artist arose, and it has several times throughout my career. it's kind of reared its pretty little head to me, and I would go for it, and then it would kind of crumble. And then I'd go, okay, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be, and keep going with what opportunities did open. And then another solo artist opportunity would open up, and then it would kind of crumble, which is kind of how I look at, what happened with The Voice. I didn't pursue, that wasn't like my dream. It was the very first season. I didn't even know what kind of a show it was. Nobody did.
Right.
They didn't even have all of the judges lined up officially yet.
Oh,
when
okay.
When I signed on, yeah. So they announced Christina as the final judge when I was out there in Los Angeles, which is pretty crazy. But you just go with what opens up, and I'm so thankful. About a year and a half ago, the opportunity opened up with a company for me to be a solo artist, and it literally just opened up to me, and I was like, well, wow, okay. I kind of didn't even know if I would get the opportunity at this point in my career or life or anything, and so here it was, and boy, I jumped into feet.
So this is the most recent we're talking about now. That's this opportunity that's come up. Yeah. So I signed an indie deal and immediately started writing. And when things open up for me like that, it just lights such a fire in me creatively. I was just writing and full of ideas and full of things I wanted to say and all this different kind of stuff. And it's just been such an incredible journey to be able to kind of go, hey, here's the green light, go. Okay, yeah. I'm ready. And so here we are. Yeah. So, having just listened to you talk about now this great opportunity has come up with this indie label. I mean, it's just, to me, I look at people like you, you are a classic example of why I started Music Talks. Yeah, it's quite incredible that you've just said that, because looking at everything you've done, for example, backing vocals and touring with all these great people, and plus you've performed on huge TV shows, like you've also performed on the Billboard Music Awards, the American Music Awards, The Tonight Show, Ellen, the Today Show, everything you can imagine, you've been on it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You've been there. How many TV shows have you been on? I mean, this just must be just massive amounts. I mean, and just getting to where I was going. Did you do Star Search?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I did
Star
Search too.
Television show I haven't done. You did Star Search too?
Back in my day, yes. In Australia, what? Yes.
Oh my gosh, what did you do?
I Star Search, it actually moved me. Here I go. Star Search actually moved me from Adelaide, where I was from, to Sydney. Yeah. And there was no plan on staying in Sydney, but I kept winning until I got to the final. And
no way.
From that, I just got so much work and like big work, and then and I ended up staying here, and you know what, it's now, oh my God, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Wow, that is so incredible.
It is. Yeah, talk about crazy stories and just going with the flow.
Yeah, you have to. If you want to be in the entertainment industry, you better just go with the flow.
Things can change like that, like in a split second.
It's so rare that I meet somebody that was also on Star Search, because everybody, oh yeah, I was on The Voice too. Yeah, I was on The Voice, or American Idol, or something, or X Factor. I think that's the other huge one. But
yeah, but I've never met anybody else that's been on Star Search either. So this is quite amazing.
It's crazy. What? That's crazy.
It is. I think it was one of the first shows of its kind.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that I know of. It was, and I mean, it was a huge hit back then. People loved it.
Yeah, it was great. So that's why, I see people like you, and I've seen so many great, talented singers, artists, musicians that deserve so much more. And for some reason, they just have slipped through the cracks, and a lot of them don't keep pursuing it. And then there's other artists that they haven't experienced much at all. They go from nothing to somebody. They don't know how to handle it, as we were saying before. But not only that, they might be okay as artists, but they just, some of them just don't have it. And you think, well, why? And I know why, but I won't go there. But, I'm not going to get into politics. I will not go there. But, and that's why, I got Music Talks up because, and a lot of it in the industry itself is a lot of people say you've got to get out and network. And now, as an artist myself, I could not due to personal circumstances. And I still cannot go and see performances or network with people within the industry in Australia because I've got other personal circumstances that I have to be home for, which is a shame. So that's why I thought, look, I'll get out there. The internet's the big thing. I'll do it on the internet.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. And I feel like, I couldn't agree more. I've got so many friends that I can't tell you why they haven't made it and why somebody else did. It's like there's a whole lot of politics that go into play, but then there's sometimes people are just meant to and sometimes people aren't, and you just kind of go, gosh, I don't know, because sometimes, people can have all the money in the world put into them and it still doesn't work. And
it actually comes back to the people and how the mass happens to see one thing all at the same time, and there's this element of luck in that too. And it's just, and that's why I think you got to keep pushing until that huge mass of these people and support groups get behind you to spread the word, and you've got to spread not sort of laterally but horizontally to just keep going.
Well, and it's so different now. It's not just networking locally and in person, but it's everything is so internet based and so digitally based. So, you have to be able to get out there and talk to people, which is something I'm working on now because, quite frankly, the whole, I feel so much more comfortable doing this and just talking to people than I do taking selfies.
Oh, I so get you there. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it's like, gosh, I wish people would just chat with me. Let's just talk, or And
I've started this hashtag called "Shut Up and Listen." I love that. That is going to be that has been in the recent last few weeks has been the change. It used to be called the artist story for Music Talks, you see, which is you'd get a lot of the independent artists coming on and they actually, they have the opportunity to write their own story. Nothing's changed, nothing's, adapted in their story from me. And a lot of them have, put up some really personal stuff. And, I have come back and said, are you sure you want this up? And they go, yeah, sure. And it was called the artist story. But now, there's this thing that there's so much happening on the internet that people don't know where to go, and it's so fast. So I've tried to come up with this thing. It's like, can everybody just shut up and listen? just take some time out of this crazy world and just listen.
I absolutely love that.
So, I'm really trying to push that out. But, are people reading that?
Well, I think anything that can touch somebody's heart or somebody can relate to, that's what makes it worth it. Yeah. I think that when you're in the entertainment industry, regardless of what your position is or your job title, aren't we all supposed to somehow reach out and touch people and move people to want to engage or listen or talk or be a part of something or read something?
Yeah.
That's sort of what we're all trying to do. And so I think whenever you do something that can be moving to somebody, then, it's worth it.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times I haven't even taken my own advice. And that would be, I get a lot of track sent my way, listen to this, and it is actually really hard to get through everything and listen to it. But there have been times that I've skipped things because I've been, I hate the word busy. I won't use it, but I'll go back later to listen to it, and I think, damn, I really wish I had listened to this earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, you just don't know. You just don't know what's out there. Yeah. So can I, before we touch on your amazing new deal and what you've got coming, can I ask you, as a songwriter, you had a massive hit with, is it Turn on the Radio?
Yes. Yeah.
That was released by Reba McEntire. Is that right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
So as a songwriter, like, it comes hand in hand with you. You write your own songs, but you also... Did you write this for her, or was this something that you had written, decided not to do yourself, and plug it to publishers or management? How did this come about?
So Turn on the Radio, like I said earlier, I've had opportunities come up in my career at different times to be a solo artist, and then they would kind of crumble. And so at the time, I had an opportunity to be a solo artist, and I had a deal presented to me that I was at the time so excited about and thought was just the right thing for me. And so once again, like, all the creative juices started going. And so me and my co-writers, we wrote Turn on the Radio originally for me, and then everything started to crumble with my deal. And I would just lay in bed and I would pray and I pray and I pray, because Turn on the Radio was this weird thing for me where the minute it was written, like, I knew, it sounds so weird to say, but I literally said to a friend of mine, I just wrote a #1 song. I didn't, there was no arrogance. There was no, I didn't mean that in any kind of like puffed up way. I knew there was something different about it, and I knew it was going to be #1. I knew it. Yeah. But it was a very weird time because I knew I was losing everything as an artist. And it was a very upsetting and disappointing and sort of devastating time. And then I got a phone call, and Reba had heard it and wanted the song. And I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? Because it wasn't being pitched to a bunch of artists around town or anything like that. And so she had heard it, and one of the songs she wound up calling personally and asking if she could have it, and which was so surreal because she was such an inspiration to me growing up. I just idolized her. I thought she was just larger than life and such an incredible performer, and she always did these amazing, dramatic videos and all this kind of stuff, and I just thought she was incredible. Yeah. So it was pretty crazy to pick up your cell phone and hear Reba on the other end asking so long, and being sort of the head honcho to say yes or no to that was such a weird, surreal. There's so many moments in my life where I go, is this my life? Is this really my life?
So the moment that was going up the chart, it hit #1. What did you feel? Like, what was it for you? Was it another surreal moment, of course?
Yeah, well, for more ways than one. When my husband and I gave the song away, we were on the road at the time, and it was a bit of a conflict with who we were on the road with, because the artists that we were both touring with, their song was out at the same time ours was, and so that created an awkwardness as their song died and ours continued to rise. So we were both fired.
Right.
Lost our jobs.
Oh my gosh.
So we were collecting unemployment when our song went #1.
That is an amazing story. Oh my God.
Let me tell you.
We could have another whole podcast just on that.
I know, right? Yes, let me tell you. Yeah, God has a sense of humor and loves to make sure I stay humble. So it was definitely surreal because it was like, did you get that unemployment check in today? Yeah, I did. Oh, look, we're number one. Yay. So it was a crazy
hearing
time.
So many people right now going, oh my God, I can relate. I
I know, right? So it's, but I've since learned, that happened in such a roundabout way. It did not happen. There's a small sort of clique of songwriters, just like there's cliques in every type of entertainment industry. And, when you're in that clique, you just get one number one song after another, after another, after another. And it kind of stays within a small group of people. And I had no deal. I had no one pitching for me. I didn't know anybody. I was on the road. So I didn't have my roots in Nashville, and I didn't have a bunch of connections in Nashville because I made my money traveling. And so for that song to get cut and go number one was such a what? And I know everybody in town was like, who are these people? Where did this come from? How did this happen? And knowing now, since then I've had publishing deals, and I know just how hard it is to get a song cut, a song listened to, much less cut, much less actually released. So many songs get cut and never see the light of day. And so I know how special it is to have a song go number one. I'm so grateful and appreciative of that.
Oh wow, that's a great story. I love that. Excuse me. So now let's get to it. Work It. How did you feel about this song? Tell everybody about this. This is the moment.
this is the one right here. No pressure.
Right here. Yeah.
So Work It for me was, I wanted to write a female empowerment song, but I wanted to write a female empowerment song that was exciting and fun and something that was celebratory of women, not, a lot of female empowerment songs are negative about a relationship. It's a female empowerment song because she's done with her man and she's, and I didn't want it to be about anything other than celebrating women. And I wanted to write it with a bit of pop flair. I feel like a lot of female empowerment songs in country music are ballads or mid-tempos, which there's nothing wrong with, but I was like, but if we're going to write such a strong statement, what if we did it in a really fun way, which made a woman stand up and want to dance? Like, she's so proud of who she is, and she's proud, that she's a hard-working woman. And I really wanted to write something that was kind of like a modern day 9 to 5. It was really geared toward get up there and work their butts off, and regardless of whatever field it's in, and wear so many hats, and they do it so well. So that was the point I kind of wanted to get across with it. And then I just wanted it to sound like me, and so it was difficult I couldn't explain it to anybody. I had to just tell my husband, I want you to call up a groove on our computer, and I want you to just press record. And so I had no instrumentation. And
sometimes that's the best though. It's really weird. That's how I like to write.
Well, for me, it was so much. I didn't have any restrictions because sometimes, depending on the way that someone interprets something musically, it'll change the entire course of a song. And I wanted it to be about the vocals, which also is not stereotypical of country music. It's, about a lot of vocals. But for me, that's me. Yeah. So literally, I told him, I said, don't ask questions, just press record. And you'll get the idea once we move along. So I would sing a part, and I'd say, okay, stop. And I'd say, okay, press record. And then I'd sing a harmony part, and I'd say, stop, okay, press record. And I'd sing another harmony part. And we did it section by section. And that's how the demo was created, of just my weird, crazy, mad
capturing
brain.
Capturing the moment, and I guess the creative process at that time.
Yeah, it was, and then Dan Huff was the producer, and he produced the music around it, which was beautiful.
Great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's fantastic. So, and now this Worker is the single from the EP.
Yes, it is. It is my current single, and my official video is up on my YouTube channel. So you can check it out there and subscribe to me there. And
absolutely.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the other tracks on the EP?
Yes. So we have a total of 5 tracks. I did redo my version of Turn on the Radio, which I'm pretty proud of. It took a lot of work to revamp it to make it me.
Yeah.
Because when I originally wrote it, it was like 2011, like 6-7 years ago. So I've changed so much artistically, and so it was a huge challenge to keep the essence of it the same, so I didn't piss people off. But to make it something that sounds like me and current with where I'm at artistically. And so that's on there, a beautiful ballad that I actually did not write, called Only Dream I Know. Sort of a heavier song called Revolution is on there. And then a love song called Do Right By You is on there.
Oh, that's great. Now, since we're speaking of this, I think I might even place that. I put Work It on this week's, I do this other thing called Tracy Talks Indie, so I'll put that on there. So after people can hear it here, they can go over there and have a listen to it. This video that you've released, is that new? Has that just come out?
Yeah, so the single and the video, I think they came out the same day, actually, very end of February. So it's only been out about a couple of months. So we're just still promoting it and pushing it. It's out everywhere digitally, so you can stream it anywhere. You can download it or purchase it or whatever.
Let's go to buy it, guys. Let's go to buy it.
Right.
Yes,
right. Please,
yes.
From the starving artist. Yes.
Instead of streaming it 1 million times, can we please buy it 1 million times? Yes.
Right. I know. I have such a love-hate relationship with streaming music, but hopefully we're working on that. We're trying to remedy that as we speak, but anyway.
Okay, so I should not leave it on that note. And from this point, what's the plan?
Well, I'm booking a lot of touring dates, and I am wide open to going anywhere. So right now, I'm looking for the best booking agent I can find who will not keep me in one place. And I say that meaning, like, I want to go all over the U.S., but I want to go to Canada. I'd love to go to Australia.
I was going to say, you should try to get here for the Tamworth Music Festival, which is in January, always in January, and it's the biggest country music festival in Australia.
Yes, if you know of any contacts I could contact, love to.
Okay, I'll get right onto that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm so blessed with the backers that I have with my deal. They've put no constraints on me in what way whatsoever. I mean, if I do well in Europe, then great. I'll be over in Europe all the time. Yeah. If I do well, it's like, we just want my music to get out.
Yeah.
And to go wherever it takes me, and so we're in the middle of trying to just book like crazy, continuing to promote Work It. I'm so thrilled. Actual radio stations are starting to play it, which I didn't even anticipate. So you never know where that's going to go, and I'm so thankful for that. And then it's just got picked up on over 4,000 gyms and health clubs in the U.S. So, so the video is being played so you can work out to Work It. So it's a lot of stuff that's just kind of slowly happening, and it's difficult. You're so anxious. You want it to just. I'm like, man, I've been doing this so long. Like, I'd love for it to just explode overnight, but. It's the little things along the way that are so exciting. I just got booked for CMA Fest. I'm so excited about that. We're going to have a press release out about that shortly. So I'm so excited about that, working on getting merchandise together to be able to sell, and just continuing to push it as far as I can. And I'll perform anywhere, any place anybody will have me. I'm so thankful to have a platform and sing and talk and listen and whatever. So that's where we're at right now. We will be releasing another single after that. We will be releasing the EP sometime this summer. Okay. So looking forward to all of it.
Great. You can actually tell the passion that you have. You can hear it in your voice. It's just, it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's funny that you say, you just want it to explode, but the funny thing is when always something seems to explode, and then I speak to artists and they say it's actually been all these little steps along the way, and suddenly it's exploded. So you know what? It will happen. I really believe that it will happen. And just keep going the way you are. I just think you're absolutely amazing. You're so talented. You are, you're the classic kind of person, artist that I had. This is the reason why I started Music Talks, is just do not let this artist slip through the cracks. Somebody shut up and listen,
You are amazing, and thank you so much for recognizing that and creating a platform.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. No problem with me. But look, I wish you so much luck and all the best with the EP, the single, your goals, and your everything that you have that you have going for you and that you want to do. Just all the very best. And,
thank you so much.
Everything will be up on the site, including the podcast. The podcast is available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and on YouTube, as well as the Music Talks website on the Guest Talks page. We'll have all the links up there. Plus, we'll place, the Work It track up there, and maybe the video. Hey, we'll put it all up there.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much. You're so awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day in Australia, and maybe I'll be there in January.
Yay! Let's work on it. Get it? Let's work it.
Well, I'll talk to you soon, then.
Thanks, Cherie.
Guest Talks with Tracy Arbon, bringing you special guest interviews from musictalks.xyz.